Hi, this is I'm on your side, Dr. Cora Stack here, and I want to introduce something different because I'm interested in a lot of things, as I say in this YouTube, and this is one of the big challenges of my life, trying to get a translation of Ulysses so that I can understand it, having had a difficulty for many years, and I've tried to ask a few people to do a translation of it, but I haven't succeeded in understanding it. So here is my do-it-yourself guide, and it's called Understanding James Joyce's Ulysses, a Plain English Educational Guide. So James Joyce's Ulysses, as we all know, is widely regarded as one of the most important works of modern literature, but it is also one of the most difficult novels many readers will ever encounter. And in fact, it is so difficult to read that huge swathes of people don't know what it's about or have never picked it up to read it. So this is what I'm trying to do. So, and it's hugely significant. So I'm trying to expand the breadth of engagement with the ideas and the topics, and it's fantastic, and so that enabling people to pick up. It's like what I do with the Constitution. I have translated it into plain language using my interaction with AI. I'm very strict with regard to the wording, the simplicity, the language that's used. So I have my own AI English, if you like, and I'm sure somebody else would have a different AI language, and it would be like all of us would have different, but I'm very, very strict, and this is what I very, very strict with regard to plain language, clarity, and all of that. So all of that work goes into my, if I'm working with AI, I'm very, very rigorous. So I think the clarity comes out in the language in my mind, so I have projected it onto the AI. My mind's clarity and the rigor is in the writing. So it's great to achieve that, I think. So James Joyce's Ulysses is widely regarded as one of the most important works of modern literature, but it is also one of the most difficult novels many readers will ever encounter. So I like the writing to be the way I think, the way I think. So I don't like it to be any different. So, but clearer, very clear. This educational project offers a structured, plain English guide to the novel's story, characters, 18 episodes, literary techniques, Homeric parallels, and central themes. There's a lot of classical, there's a huge amount of classics in this. The purpose is not to replace Joyce's original text or reduce its complexity. It is to make the structure and basic meaning more visible, so that readers like myself, who have previously felt excluded or overwhelmed, may approach the novel with greater confidence. This is the way I teach mathematics, and I've been doing it for years. The unpaid labour, or unacknowledged or unrecognised. Well, I was recognised by India as having outstanding achievement in excellence in academic leadership and education. And was I recognised in Ireland? We'll see. So each episode is explained through straightforward questions. What happens? What is happening beneath the surface? Why is the writing difficult? What technique is Joyce using? Why does the episode matter? The guide represents only one possible education interpretation of an extraordinary complex work. Ulysses has generated many different scholarly, historical, psychological, political, linguistic, and literary interpretation. No single guide can capture every meaning contained within that novel. Readers are therefore encouraged to treat this work as a companion and starting point rather than a final or authoritative explanation. Absolutely, it is just a perspective, and I'm always interested in different perspectives. That's what I bring to a lot of my work, different perspectives. The project was conceived, directed, and critically shaped by myself, Dr. Cora and Ms. Stack. It was prepared with significant assistance from artificial intelligence in drafting, organising, and plain language explanation. But I've been doing that, for a couple of years now. Not so long, really, but I won't let anything pass me if it doesn't meet my standards. So I'm very, very strict with AI editing. Anything that wouldn't reach my standards, just no, I won't. No, so it's very hard work. As I said, for what I'm paid. I mean, or how I'm recognised in Ireland. Well, that's what happens when you're a woman in Ireland of intelligence and intellect, and you can be knocked off your perch very quickly by people who feel threatened by your intellect. It's very unfortunate. That's what's happened to me all my life. I've been knocked and repeatedly knocked and minimised and reframed. So when it came to the constitutional challenge, deja vu. The whole thing was deja vu. How many times was the same thing done to me in my career and life? Sure, it was just the limit in the sequence. So, invert. The sequencing educational framework and standards of clarity draw upon my long experience as an academic, mathematics lecturer, researcher, and educator, together with a sustained commitment to making difficult ideas accessible without removing their intellectual depth. Well, we can't do anything if the system does not recognise us. There is nothing we can do. We can complain, but the powers that be will always back the establishment. So the resulting approach is best described as human-directed and AI-assisted. The original idea arose from a personal difficulty. Despite knowing of the importance of Ulysses for many years, I found much of the novel extremely difficult to understand, as well as so many other people. I mean, it was impossible. I believed that many other readers may have experienced the same difficulty. Well, this is my firm opinion. The hope is that this guide, which is only a guide, will provide a bridge into Joyce's original work and encourage more readers to engage directly with the novel. Because I think, when you read what I've written, it's brilliant. What's in it is brilliant. The brilliance of Ulysses, you can see it from the monograph, which I think is a great contribution. To try and understand and get that bridge to his way of writing, and the original version, which was for me impossible to access. So it's access, not access to justice here, but access to the wonderful and brilliant Mr. James Joyce, who was Too Long in Exile, a great song by he had to go to France to get recognition, and like Mr. Samuel Beckett, according to Van Morrison, Too Long in Exile, like Oscar Wilde, like George Best and all these people. So he writes this great song called Too Long in Exile, and maybe it should be like Dr. Cora and Stack, Too Long in Exile. So the hope is that this guide will provide a bridge into Joyce's original work and encourage more readers to engage directly with the novel. This is not the only interpretation of Ulysses, absolutely not. It is one carefully structured, plain language pathway into a work that remains open to continuous discussion, disagreement, and discovery. So I hope this work will reach out to people who are interested in English literature and into the brilliance of James Joyce, and who, like myself, have been overwhelmed and intimidated. Not so much, I'm sure he didn't intend that to be intimidated or anything like that, but it was just the ideas and the thinking and what he covers in one day in the book is it's just unbelievable. Absolutely incredible. So hopefully this work will help people, as I say, understand James Joyce and enable them to have that bridge to and that confidence to pick up that book and read it. So I'm hoping to be able to do it after reading my own monograph several times, and I'd like to do this to Shakespeare sonnets and a few other things that I'm interested in as well, to do my plain language to Shakespeare sonnets and a couple of other pieces of work that are worth. They have great insights, but the language can be concealed. The time the language is written can conceal things. I often think that about a lot of Shakespeare's work. Now, we had Cole's notes in school. I never liked Cole's notes. I mean, they're nothing as good as this monograph, I can tell you. Nothing is good. This is far better than Cole's notes, but I didn't like Cole's notes because everybody was expected to learn off Cole's notes and just reproduce them in the exam. And I never agreed with, the one interpretation. So this is one interpretation, and everybody can do their own monograph of James Joyce and compare and contrast. But I'm just interested in this, and I think it will help people interested in literature, culture, English language, etc. understand one of the greatest pieces of literature of all time. That's the Ulysses by Mr. James Joyce, Dublin, France. So to anybody who's reading it, I'd I think it's a fantastic achievement, and I hope it helps bridge that gap between people like myself and the genius of Mr. James Joyce. So and the work, of course, is dedicated to him and the many scholars who have done a huge amount of work to try and bring his work and understanding our perspective of his work to ordinary people. But I hope this will widen the excess access to the wonderful work of the brilliant Mr. James Joyce.